And on that beautiful note, we're recording, right?
Yeah, we've been recording.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, evening, or afternoon. Welcome back to the Wanna Podcast. As always, my name is Milos Bukareca. With me is my co-host, George Martinez. And our guest today is the wonderful filmmaker of pretty much all trades. He's done it all. You talk about audio, you talk about scoring, you talk about directing, cinematography. Anything you throw at this guy, he's got it. Mr. Israel Marquez. How are you,
Hey,
man?
how's it going, man? It's good to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here, man. That's awesome.
It's good to be around people, that after all this pandemic stuff.
Have you not gotten out much since the pandemic?
I by myself, going fishing and stuff. But that's about it.
Oh, nice, man. That's a good hobby. I've never really tried it myself because I'm more like, I don't know if I'd be bored or not. I'm more like I always got to be doing something. Yeah. So I don't know. Would you say fishing would be something I should try or no?
You should try it. Everybody should try it. I think it's a stress reliever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is your spot a secret or is something?
Yeah, I got several secret spots.
Oh, okay. Then we're not going to mention them here, I guess. We'll just leave it at that. That's awesome. How long have you been fishing? I know it's a film podcast, but, we got to talk about something else, too.
And since I was a kid, my uncle used to be a professional fisherman. He used to go out fishing with Jimmy Houston, all those big guys.
Nice.
And just tagged along all the time and picked it up.
So that kind of got you that passion. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what got you to film passion, man? What got you into that?
Man, I've always been an artist since I was a kid, I remember there was this movie called The Car. I don't know if you guys remember that. It's like a grindhouse where the devil's driving this car and he's going around killing people.
Oh, shit. I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, so that was the exact movie that got me into making want to make films, But back then, the technology and stuff was not available, and plus I was probably like 8 years old. So, but I remember I'd recreate the scenes with all my little Hot Wheels and stuff.
Oh my God, it's awesome.
And that's when I first learned about like lenses and stuff, because like the close up, like let's say a car comes in towards the camera real close, I would do it toward my eye, and I was like, wow, it's the same thing, So that's when it started really like, kicking in. But again, the technology wasn't available to us, But it wasn't until years later that I actually, I was working at a helicopter engine building place. Mm-hmm. I had been there for like 8 years. And just something that started burning, inside me again. I'm like, man, I'm looking at everybody. And I'm seeing all these old guys walking around, oh man, ready to retire. So I said, man, I do not want to do that. So I remember I put my wrench down, walked over to my boss, said, hey man, it's my last day. He was like, what? You make 6 figures. I said, I don't care. I got something to do. And that's when I started, And I remember it was like May 10th, 2010. And maybe like 4 weeks later, I made my first short film and then started winning awards and stuff and never looked back.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. I saw on your IMDb like movies don't go back further than that. So I was wondering when you got your start. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of, compared to like a lot of some other guests on here, that's kind of a little later in life, which is really cool to see that the people are still starting that, and that you can kind of get into this business like any point. Yeah. I thought I was starting off at like 19 or 20 when a lot of our guests are like, oh yeah, I started at like 5. I wanted to do this. I was filming stuff. I'm like, the fuck. So I guess it makes me feel better. That's a shitty way to say I'm sorry, but that's kind of funny.
It's all right.
Yeah. But, yeah, you're absolutely right, man. All those, because I have seen some of your work, and it is amazing. Definitely award-worthy, as obviously you won a lot of stuff.
Thank you.
I only mostly know you as a cinematographer. I didn't really know that you do a lot of that other stuff that you do, which is super cool.
There's one thing that when I decided I want to be a filmmaker, I went home and I started getting on YouTube and researching, and the first thing that comes up is, Robert Rodriguez's 10-minute film school.
Yes.
and I never heard of the dude until then. I was like, man, who's this guy? And he's sitting there telling me that I can do it too. So I'm like, well, I'm going to be friends with this dude one day, And I just kept researching him and doing what he said. And sure enough, man, it came together really, really cool.
See, I got really into movies, just watching all different kinds, but I was big into like comic books, so I would draw a lot. So I was doing illustration stuff. And then started getting more and more into the movies, especially like when Sam Raimi's Spider-Man came out.
Oh, yeah.
So I got into like Sam Raimi stuff, and I went back, watched some of the Evil Dead. And eventually I went to get into filmmaking because it seemed like it was the place where all my interests kind of converged. So I started looking into it more and more. And then a cousin of mine, like, hey, have you read Rebel Without a Crew? I'm like, no, I've never heard of it. And he's like, he's the one that introduced me to Robert Rodriguez through his book. So I watched his book and I already liked his movies at that point because I was like, oh, he's the guy behind all these movies. So it was like Desperado, and like at that time it was like Spy Kids too.
Yeah.
So the more I got into it, the more I learned about him. Then I saw like the 10-minute film school, and then he also had like he'll have a bunch of special features on his movies. So just seeing the behind the scenes of making of all these different movies, like, seemed really cool because it makes it achievable, right? Just having it in that perspective.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
That's one director that's always been like a big influence.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like his movies, but I like the way he goes about doing things. He's very technical. Mm-hmm. And, when I said I was going to be his friend one day, and years later, here I am in the same room with him, when I was shooting my documentary. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, I made this happen. It was 15 years later, but it happened. So it was just so cool, just to. But yeah, he's an influence, for sure for me, And whenever I get stuck somewhere or something, I'll go back. I'll go back to the roots and watch those film school things because I always miss something. Like, oh yeah, that was cool. I don't remember that part. So it helps out.
Absolutely, man. I love that it was great like that. Like when you meet your heroes, it's something that it's a really good moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a similar-ish experience. I talk about this guy just about every other podcast. The guy who kind of got me into filmmaking, his name is John Johnson. He makes these really, what's the best way to say it? The movies aren't great, but it's like self-aware horror comedy. So it's low budget stuff, and I just enjoyed it for what it is. And I'm just like, if this guy can, go ahead and make these and make a living off of this with film stuff and everything, I'm like, why can't I do it?
Exactly.
And eventually, it turns out his wife was from down here, and they came down here for something. He was doing some medical procedure down here. And I met him. George went out there too, and dude, it's super cool, really down to earth and everything. And obviously, he's become a better and better filmmaker. I actually started watching him kind of early-ish in his career, and so just to see him doing the stuff he's doing now, I'm like, that's he's gone a long way, and I'm just hoping one day to be like a tenth of a filmmaker he is.
That's good. That's good. That's a good way to set a goal, set an example. Mm-hmm. Do what your heroes do. That's what I've always been told. If everything else fails, just do what they did.
It's just a little harder to make a movie for $7,000 these days. It's all.
Yeah, that's true.
We're talking about Rodriguez,
Yeah.
Now, did you see he came out with a new show, Rebel Without a Crew, the show, the series?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw a few episodes of it, but I said to myself, I wouldn't watch TV anymore, and I think that was around the time when I got rid of my TV and stuff. So I kind of missed. And then they started killing the El Rey.
Yeah, the El Rey channel. I felt like it didn't take off. They came out with those first seasons of some originals, and then they kind of died off.
Yeah. So it was. Hey.
So far, I just see that it's a bunch of reruns of older movies or Kung Fu flicks.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing, actually.
5 Fingers of Death.
Oh. Yeah, they'll do marathons of Kung Fu flicks. And then I think he'll put a bunch of grindhouse or reruns of the X-Files.
Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. So jumping into the film world, working on your first short film, how was it compared to expectations? Did it meet and exceed expectations of what working on a film is, or how was your first experience?
Man, it was more than what I thought it was going to be. I didn't have a script. I just had an idea in my head, and it was a silent film, just music. A buddy of mine scored the film. And we just drove around, looked for locations, and got out, shot, drove around some more, and so there was really no planning or nothing. I just had this idea in my head. I said, we gotta shoot this, And so that's what we did, and it came out pretty good. I was like, wow, I did that. It wasn't perfect, but I was like, man, I did that, And then when we the first film festival in Grand Prairie, the Fall Indie Fest, that was the first film festival that I entered it. And man, everybody was like, my film was showing. This is a true story, and everybody started crying and stuff. I'm like, oh man, they hate my movie. I was looking to get out, man.
Oh.
But then when the movie was over, I got a standing ovation. I was like, oh wow, maybe I do got something here, So it was a good feeling, because we got the crappiest camera and crappiest locations, and it worked.
I mean, really, it really, what's kind of nice about situations like that is, like, sometimes it does take an outsider to kind of make something really, really good. Because, if you have somebody who knows everything, all the rules and everything, and especially if they're kind of like a stickler for, like, wanting stuff to look a certain way, like, everything is going to end up looking kind of very similar-ish,
Yeah.
Especially if you want to imitate the big filmmakers. I guess I'll get a little closer. I guess I got a little further from the mic, sorry. But if you want to imitate, what's the big people are doing all the time, everything's going to start looking the same.
Exactly.
So when you have somebody like that come in, do something different, I feel like that's why it's got a really good reaction, because it's something that they weren't expecting to see, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, they were like, that's like the first silent film I've seen in, that's been out in 50 years or 60 years. I was like, well, it needed to be done. It's the only idea I had. I had the music already in my head. I do the music first in my head, and then I'll put the scenes to it, and that's all we did, man. It was a good, cool thing. I also said to myself, if I don't win anything or get any kind of cool feedback, then I'm just gonna stop. Go ask for my job back.
Well, you're not working over there, are you?
Nope.
Hey, that's awesome.
And that was 2010.
So how did you meet Bill Haas? I know you've worked with him a lot. He's one of our guests. He was one of our guests a little while back. Talking to him was amazing.
Yeah, that's what I was telling him. I met you on there, and like you were the DP for the film, and there were a couple days you couldn't be there, so Bill asked
the
me
film,
to go on.
sir. What film are you talking about? So we can have context for the podcast. We know, but does the audience know?
Do I know? I think it was just my luck, right?
Yeah, there was a couple, right?
Yeah, there's a couple.
The How to Make a Baby no, was that?
I think that was his last one.
That was his last one. Yeah, we're on that one too. I met Bill a few years back at some kind of like film mixer or something like that, and he said he had heard about me, and I said, hey, I heard about you too, and we just, kicked it off like that. Real cool guy, real big inspiration. He's giving me a lot of chances to work on my cinematography. I don't consider myself a good cinematographer or anything, but he gave me a chance, and I learned from him and just do what he says and take advice. So yeah, he's a real good guy.
How do you feel about going to mixers? Because my experience with mixers were like sometimes
Mixed.
Yeah,
they're mixed feelings.
I have mixed feelings on it.
Mixed feeling on mixed.
Yeah, because I'll meet some people, but it seems like everyone's was interested like in the same thing. Everyone's like, oh, director, and I was like, oh, well, not really meeting anyone for a crew.
Right. I used to go to those a lot, but I started noticing it's the same people over and over.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's quit going. Yeah. And that was it. It's like I'm mixing, but there's nobody wants to do anything, and it's the same people over and over. And I'm like, man, forget it.
That's how it was at film school too for a while. It's like everyone's more focused on doing their projects. Sometimes there's no time for different projects, and whenever there is free time, everyone's kind of doing their own thing and won't really make the time for it.
Yeah.
So I was like always going off on my own or finding people who would want to help out. Like Milos is one of the few people from school that was like really interested in still doing stuff. And then there's a couple people who just like left it altogether.
Wow. Yeah. I started with a buddy of mine, and he kind of left me high and dry. So yeah, it's the same way. He was the rich guy. He had the money. I had the content. And hey, we can do something together, and then he just kind of like went off on his own, but he never did anything. Now I think recently, as last year, he tried to come back. I was like, nah, I worked my way too hard, and you left me high and dry, man. Forget that. So there's a lot of that going on. That's why I don't really attend those mixers anymore.
I mean, the thing is, I think with that, you need to find like different groups to go to as well. Because I mean, with Endeavor, I think that's the one we're kind of mostly talking about, the one we went to. I have kind of seen that it is new people don't really come in as often. Yeah. I mean, there is some good people there. Obviously, like Bill is amazing. Working with him is always fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it'd be nice if they got an influence on new people. Or, you know, I don't know if those people go to other group mixers as well. I mean,
I think that what works out better than mixer is just getting your way onto some set and then meeting people on set and just go from set to set.
Hey, you know what's better than that? Going to film festivals. That's where you're going to meet people that are actually doing stuff. Actors, directors, producers, they'll all be there. You know, guaranteed. I go to every film festival that I can, and I've met so many awesome actors. You know, I see an actress on, say I'm casting for a role, and I see an actress. Oh man, I want to cast her. So I'll reach out, and that's how it works, man. I found that to be way better.
Whenever I got to go to the Washington, it was the Washington D.C. Film Festival. I got to go there, and everyone's talking to the actors and stuff, but not that many people talk to the producers. But I went up to talk to one of the producers for like the big premiere movie they had.
Yeah.
And for them, it was like that year was a movie called Meth Head. But I talked to the producer, and she was really nice, and like right away she like gave me her card, and she's like, if you have any ideas or you're interested in anything, send me what you got, and I could refer you to other people. So that's she's cool. Like, I could help you make contacts.
That's how it works, man. You see it a lot. You see it a lot at film festivals.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I do feel like, you know, the crew kind of is overlooked at times. And he's absolutely right when he says everybody wants to be a director. I mean, hell, I want to be a director, but
yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm fine. I'm happy with doing whatever job I can. Just being on set is fulfilling enough for me. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's what I tell everybody. Everybody always asks me, you know, what do you do? I'm like, well, it's easier to tell you what I don't do.
Yeah.
You know? And then I tell them, hey, go out and do everything, learn everything, because there's going to be that one time or two times that, you know, you have a full crew, and all of a sudden they all call in, oh, I can't do it. And here you got all your actors. You said it happened to me a lot. And that's how I learned how to shoot and catch audio and fix lighting all by myself. I got rigs, you know, that I got this vest that I'll carry the sound. I'll have my camera.
You have the boom over here. You're holding the boom, holding the camera. Yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
That one-man crew, man. Yeah, absolutely. I used to, oh my God.
Just the modification of the one-man band.
Yeah.
Your strapped to you.
That's it. It can be done.
I remember when I first was doing like a green screen setup for my shitty YouTube videos back in the day, I literally, like, to hold up one of my lights, because all I had was like the clamp lights from Walmart at the time.
Yeah.
I found out that a PVC pipe fits perfectly inside of like the holder for a vacuum cleaner. You know, when it holds the attachment. So like I put a tall PVC pipe on there, used that as my light stand. And I rigged one of my tripods to hold a makeshift boom pole to have a microphone over on me.
There you go.
So it was really, really, really janky, but I mean, hell, look at you look at the finished product, you're like, you could never tell that it was maybe like the most shittiest garbage you could ever think about.
Exactly. They don't know. And the thing is, the audience don't care.
Yeah.
You know, as long as your content is good, they don't care.
Exactly. They don't. I mean, the thing that matters most is sound. That is absolutely true. But like, camera, not really, man. I mean, like you said with yours, and there's a lot of other films. There was a movie he keeps talking about. I don't know what it is. It's like you said. It was like some two brothers or something made a movie a long time ago, right? Like just sitting in a room.
Oh, yeah, the Duplass brothers, Jay and Mark Duplass. They started off making these home video movies inside their house, and they'll just have one camera and they're each the actor for it. And it was like really minimal production, I guess. It's just them, whatever lights they had, and then they went off and put it into film festivals, so they've won awards for them.
Shoot, that's all right.
I think one of their movies called The Fluffy Couch, and that's like one of the that's one of their movies where it's just them with one camera and a microphone.
Wow, that's amazing.
I mean, if the story is good, man, if the story hooks you, it doesn't really matter about
that's
anything else.
That's what it's about, man, the whole story.
Now those guys are off like doing productions for HBO.
Wow.
And like I got to meet Mark Duplass in Dallas. He was hosting like a Q&A premiering his movie Cyrus. And Cyrus is with Jonah Hill, Marissa Tomei, and John C. Reilly.
Wow.
And I was like, the cast is cool, and like he talked about like his approach to everything, and he'll like break down the way he wanted to shoot it, because it was his first like studio movie with him and his brother, so they're still behind it. They're like a co-directors, and he was saying that they wanted to shoot it like it looked like you were actually there, like it was the human eye recording everything. So the camera's very kinetic and like always moving around, kind of
cool.
shaky. But it was like just hearing them talk about it just makes, at the moment, it like motivates you more.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
So, how big of a jump was it going from your first to your second film? Like, how what did you learn from the first one that you applied to the second one? I guess is the best question. Best way I can phrase it.
What I learned from the first one was I can clean up my camera work a little bit. And because the first one I didn't capture sound, I said, okay, well, the second one I'm going to have to learn that. Something else to learn. So I went and bought what everybody else buys, little Zoom recorders. Yeah. Now I got the big, audio professional. I look cool and stuff. But just clean up. I think I had the story stuff right. The story was really good. So my second film, the story was also a really good story. But it was just, I knew I had to like clean up the camera work and learn the sound. That was going to be tough for me because it was just a one-man crew, So yeah, and it was really, really hard because it was like a bigger story. There was lines, there was locations. And that's where I also learned to, when you write a script, make sure that the locations are, doable.
Yeah.
Don't say, hey, she's standing at the top of the Empire State Building. There's no Empire State Building. And so that's what I learned that.
Fake it,
Man. Trying to find a long dirt road was tough for me, that was private. Mm-hmm. And that's what I had written in the script. And I could not find one. I could not find one at all. Till finally somebody came up, hey, I got one, back in my house, back. So, yeah, but write what you have, write what what's available to you.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing that I do now to this day.
So for actors, speaking of writing for stuff, do you write for specific actors, or do you just write a script and then just cast afterwards?
I write the script first. I never really have a specific actor in mind. I did do one, This Old Violin, for a friend of mine. She was wanting to get, do better stuff, and so I wrote that for her. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the only time I've ever done that. It's usually just, thought process of, writing the script, and then I'll go to the film festivals and find my actors and actresses like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I need to start going to more of those. I'll be honest with you. The only ones I really ever went to were the Indie Film Showcase in Fort Worth,
yeah,
and like the TCC ones we hosted, and that was about it. I do need to get out to more of those just to meet more people.
Most definitely, I suggest that, like 100%.
What would be like maybe like your top pick film festivals like in the area to go to?
Oh man, you gotta
nearby.
You gotta watch out now. There's a lot of film festivals that are like, I call them friends with benefits film festivals. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So you just got to watch out
friends
for those.
Awarding friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just got to, I got my list, of that, but I like Bare Bones Film Festival in Muskogee, Oklahoma. I like the FWIFs, the Fort Worth Indie Film Showcase. There's a new one. Maybe it's been out maybe about 3 years now. Sunny Side Up Film Festival in Oklahoma.
I've heard about that.
Man, they're really cool people, and they really love the process. They're a married couple, and they just love the process of film festival. And I see like some film festivals like, they're all stressed out. The director and the employees. Yeah. But these guys, they're just like all happy. It's cool. I'll be honest with you, bro. I think that's it around here. Everything else, man.
Understandable.
We used to take part in the Tarrant County Film Festival at TCC because we kind of started with the teacher that was part of the film club, or the sponsor for the film club, and from there we did our own film festival by trying to reach out to other people around the area, people from other schools to like submit stuff, and then we just let the audience decide like the winners.
That's cool. I like that. Oh, there's another one. There's Frame for Frame. You remember?
That sounds familiar.
There's one. They're out of Arlington and Shutter Speed. They're really good people. Yeah, right. Those are some good people right there. I'm fixing to talk to the city of Midlothian where I live, and on Friday, I'm gonna talk to them about bringing a film festival to Midlothian.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been out there only a couple times to Midlothian, but it seems like a nice town. Yeah.
It is, man. They need something like that. They don't have any theaters or nothing, but they got a lot of empty buildings. and they're downtown. I was like, hey, this is something right here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to drive out for that. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And it'd probably be like a few months from now, right?
Probably next year.
Yeah, next year? It takes a lot of setup.
I mean, we'll let some people know on the podcast if they listen to it. We'll have something ready by then.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I got a meeting with them on Friday, and I was in their Midlothian Now magazine. I was featured as because they were all excited. Well, we got a filmmaker that lives in town.
Ooh, that's cool.
Let's do a story on you and stuff. So that kind of that's what got that rolling, So I'll let you guys know what happens, I think something good's gonna come out of that.
Absolutely, man. That sounds wonderful.
And it won't be a Friends with Benefits film festival. I guarantee you that.
So wait, I can't bribe you to make my film? Come on, man.
It's like, I need that laurel.
Well, I like Dr.
I'll make you executive producer. Come on, buddy.
I like Dr. Pepper.
But yeah, man. So speaking of kind of film festivals, one of our guests here recently, Katriva Phillips, she actually did a film festival at home during COVID. Because of COVID, it was like a lockdown film festival, and she got submissions from all around the world, which was pretty interesting.
Wow.
So it was just literally like the rules were, I believe, just make a film, about lockdown or while you're locked down and stuff like that. So all the stuff was minimalist and stuff like that, which was kind of super cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, the idea was awesome. So kind of going through that topic, did you work during the pandemic? Like, did you do film stuff? Were you able to do film stuff during the pandemic?
I wanted to, but a lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll wait. And I'm the type of guy that'll work on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go shoot. This location got open. It's open on Christmas. Let's go shoot. Everyone's like, no,
We were able to do a couple of shoots during it, which was kind of nice. One of them is still in the edit because I'm taking forever. It's my fault. But besides that, the other one was for a film festival as well. We were submitting it. We got a decent amount of votes, but it didn't end up winning. But that's okay. It was still fun.
That's cool. Just keep busy.
Absolutely, man. That's what we've been trying to do. That's kind of like, this is kind of scratching a certain itch for me too. Doing the podcast and stuff like that. It's still very film-like. It's kind of also kind of ties in a little bit to my broadcasting degree just a little bit. So it's kind of nice. I still feel like I'm doing something while just doing a podcast.
Yeah. That's a good thing, man. I dig it.
For a long time, I was like, hey, we should do a podcast. And we talked about it for a long time. Like, we never really got around to it. And whenever we finally got started, it was with me, Tress, and then Milos showed up to help out that day. And we were testing out the cameras because I just got the Shogun. And I was like, oh, we could do it all with cameras. And we did a test interview, and this was like maybe early March.
Yeah.
And so like a couple of days later, they just shut everything down.
What?
So that's when all the pandemic really started.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So we just shot like a test footage. And since nobody really knew how to use the equipment, whenever we tried to look back at the footage, it had all the camera info on it.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
So I was like, oh, we can't use any of this.
Hey, that's how you learn, though, man.
Yeah.
I remember when I was first learning Adobe Premiere Pro, it was a hacked version. It was like Adobe 2.0. It wasn't even Pro. And I remember my first DVD is like, man, I did it. I put in a DVD player, and the picture was real tiny in the middle of the screen. I'm like, what the hell? So you learn like that, man.
Yeah, I started on a hacked version of Sony Vegas, so trust me, I know how that is.
Man.
So, since you do a whole bunch of stuff, do you have anything that you kind of prefer to do? Any kind of job on film? Do you prefer like audio, directing, or editing, or what do you have one that you prefer over everything else by any chance?
Um, Man, that's a good question. I like them all. Usually on my films, of course, I write it and I'll direct it. I'll work the camera. Those are the three things that I usually do. Mm-hmm. The audio stuff only if something doesn't show up or whatever. I think I prefer just if I could find a real good cameraman, cinematographer, I'd prefer just to direct. Because I really like engaging with the actors. I used to act when I was younger, and it's just one of those things that it's more intimate. But that's just the way it is. Sometimes you got to do them all, and I don't like cinematographers, too much, but I want to find a really, really good one. That way it can free me up. Yeah. Hopefully one day.
We gotcha. And I feel like that. I kind of hit on this just about every podcast recently, but I feel like it's a good message to hit on every time. I feel like knowing more about other positions makes you a better director because you know exactly what that position requires.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like when I write a script, I'll put all the camera angles and camera lens for the actors to see. So when they're reading the script, they already know. I don't have to tell them anything. That's another thing I learned. Don't limit your actors. They're people. They're smart. They can read, and they'll put that stuff to work, man. And if you just give them the information, because now it's to the point where okay, action. They do their thing. I'll turn around, action. That's it. They did everything that they didn't lean over too much. They knew the size of the length of the. Sometimes I'll draw little squares saying, hey, this is where your shoulder's going to be, stuff like that. Anything to help them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that stuff like that helps, and you just go quick.
It's funny. We had like a very opposite problem of what you've had, because you worked with. It seems like you worked with professional actors for most of your stuff. What is that?
Oh, it's
the fridge.
The fridge.
Yeah.
Can you unplug it?
Pull the small brown cord.
Thank you.
The fridge, the destroyer of all films.
And after that little quick distraction, we're back. So what I was going on about before was basically kind of saying you had an opposite problem of what we had. For us, finding crew wasn't really a problem because we all loved, working on stuff like that. And working especially with one of our friends, like he would always cast like people he knew, like who weren't actual actors and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like they were almost always like 50% of his shoots, his actors ended up bailing. And so, that's always an issue. If you have somebody on the crew bail, it's easier to find, a replacement for crew, or hell, just do it yourself, like we know.
Yeah.
But if you miss an actor, you're basically kind of screwed.
Yeah, they say that's the rule. Don't ever hire your friends and family. Yeah. Don't ever do that.
And that guy, he's learned, and so now I feel like it's a lot better. I feel like the last couple of projects he's worked on have actually worked out really well.
That's good. Wow.
No, the last one we did that they're still working on editing. We had the actors because usually he just writes out the script, but there was no planning on like how it's gonna be like how it's actually gonna be shot. So while we were at the shoot, we're coming up with the shots on the shoot, and then the actress on a certain shot, she was supposed to stand like near the corner of a table, and every time she got really into the role, she started walking closer and closer and like getting the angle really weird to the point where she was just profiled.
Oh God. That's gonna be that I was having a tough time with that shot. Eventually I found a way to kind of edit around it, kind of sort of, but you really just couldn't, because she got really into her character, which was nice, great for the emoting and everything else.
Yeah.
Line delivery was perfect, but literally she would just like walk forward. I'm like, stop.
No, the last like kind of bigger project that was my own project, I got to work with a camera operator named Ali Millara, and she was really good, and it was like the first time I didn't have to do all the camera work for a project, and it turned out really well because I really got more time to engage with the actor and also be more aware of everything going on without just focusing through the camera. And so it really helped out, and it's like personally, I felt like it was one of the projects that turned out a little better from like my previous ones. And with Ali, I would like just talk with her about the angles, but I would like kind of do a quick storyboard just to know what scene we were doing that day. And so I'll like knock out the storyboard real quick. We'll shoot that, and then she'll come up with like extra stuff that she sees that she would like to shoot. And I was like, all right, go for it.
That's cool, man.
Yeah,
that's the way it works.
Yeah, that's why planning helps a lot, and especially, I mean, the less you have to do, the more you can actually focus on the film itself.
That's right.
Yeah, the one thing I always try to get people to do, if possible, is storyboard and shot lists, because those things are absolute lifesavers. We kind of sort of had that for the last one, but not really. Manual was supposed to make those, but it's like, we'll be fine. I'll make something.
Yeah.
And the something was just something.
The shot list.
It kind of worked, but now shot list is absolutely 100% important.
Yeah, those are really cool. I like using shot lists. I went to this as far as getting one of those football plate, the quarterbacks have, and I put my list in there and pull the card out. And next one,
Nice. Yeah, and I feel like absolutely having a script supervisor who's going to go over the shot list, tell you everything's.
Yeah.
Sorry, everything was done and all that. What wasn't, I feel like that's also very important.
That's important.
Keeping track of what takes were good, what takes weren't. It helps the editor a lot, which is really nice.
Something to touch on. Like you said, you would put your shots on the actual script.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever we're going through school and like going through like a script writing, they would tell you not to do any of that because they're like, but they're going through the point of view of like you being a writer. So if you were a writer, you wouldn't put any of that in, so the director could then decide to do it.
Right.
So whenever I'm like, usually I write it that way, the way I was taught. So I'll write without any of the camera angles or any of the shots in there. But what I do whenever I'll like just pass out the script, and then for my personal one, whenever I'm actually shooting, I'll draw like storyboards. I'll storyboard on the script itself, and then like do the shot list and just make notes. So mine looks like it has like a comics going down the side and like all these lines.
And that's awesome.
And it helps me focus. Except one time I knew I had to get all these angles, and like I shot all the masters and I shot the angles I needed of each actor, forgetting to do the one for like the third actor, the first one, since he was in most of it. Like I forgot to get shots that were close-ups on him, and I was like, oh, I didn't have anything. But it still worked out enough where I could cut around it. Cause, yeah.
That's cool.
So it didn't stand out.
Yeah, they tell you don't, when you write a script, you just write the script, But since I'm the writer, director, and the cinematographer, I put all these things in because I'll forget too, I have an idea for camera placement. I'll write it in there. Camera's going to be, in the corner, and this, and I'll forget. I'll go and look, and it helps me out too. It's not just for the actors, but it helps me out too. But I'm going to write a script for somebody or something. Yeah, I don't put none of that stuff in there. Yeah, you're right.
Now they would tell us a lot of different things as far as writing the scripts, because it's all taught to you in the way of like you selling it or you working for someone else. And also like the dialogue, they're always like, don't do too much dialogue. It's like, because they were telling us they judge it based on how dark the page looks. If the page looks kind of dark, they'll throw it out.
What? They must not like Tarantino movies.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, do you write like from the beginning to the end? Is that how you write stuff?
Sometimes I'll think of like, I'll have the ending in mind more, and kind of like a little bit of how it builds up to it. So it's almost like having to fill in the middle.
Right. Yeah, I usually write from the end backwards. And it's always like if I'm messing around on some music or something, I'll get an idea for a film, and I'll always start with the very end, because to me it's easier to fill in that stuff. It's hard for me, I don't know why, to go from beginning to end. I lose interest real fast. But if I go from end to beginning, man, I stay on it, man. And I don't know. I that's why I asked you, because I wanted to see if anybody else had that problem.
For me, I kind of start like, well, I mean, at least the ideas I get usually start right from in the middle of the film. I don't really get like an idea for a full story. I get like a really quick idea, like this would be a super cool scene, or something here would sound amazing. And so I'm like, how can I build a story around this one thing? How can I make this out into like a full thing? And so I am a terrible writer because I don't really finish scripts often. And mostly my stuff is mostly like action based stuff like that because I grew up watching action movies when I was a kid, and that kind of influenced everything I want to do.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. I mean, I think it's kind of cool. I'd like to do action movies, but yeah. So I mean, that's why it's like it's usually just a one scene of something in my mind. I'm like, this would be so awesome, and then just start writing. Like recently, because we had Tim Meadows and we had Bill Haas, and I was like, you know what? Like they would make a really great duo in a hilarious father-son action movie. I was just like, and I had like these scenes just pop in my head automatically. I'm like, I want to write this and see if I can cast them. And I started on it. I'm like, all right. So the middle scene here, middle scene here. How do I connect this into like a full story? How do I make this into a thing? So I'm a completely different writer from you guys.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Not professional at all.
Hey, you know, whatever makes it happen for you.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any rules for art. You know, I don't think so.
There's always like those like basic structure they'll tell you, but it's structure of like the way somebody else always works.
Yeah.
But it could help you because one of the more common things is like trying to make make a movie come full circle. So sometimes like if you come up with the ending, well, you could just find something similar that mirrors the ending, so it feels like there's closure from beginning to end.
Right.
And then like
yeah, but you got a sequel bait, bro.
Well, now it's all sequel bait.
Yeah.
No, but even then you could still do the same thing without actually like planning out the sequel. Because they do that for Lord of the Rings. If you watch the original trilogy, there at least has a beginning and end to it that feels more satisfying, and then it just picks up on the next movie.
Yeah.
And that's something like I don't think The Hobbit did that well. It didn't feel like there was a good ending. It felt like the action was just starting and it just ends abruptly, and then you have to go to the next movie.
Yeah, they leave you hanging, man.
Yeah.
Dang. I love the writing process, you know, and I always like to hear, you know, again, going to film festivals at the Q&A and stuff. I love to hear the way writers and directors write and stuff. I mean, I just learn so much, you know, and I feel each time that I go, I learn something new, and I try to apply it to what I'm doing, you know. And again, I suggest if people are really into the filmmaking, to attend as many film festivals as you can. You know, you don't have to watch the movie. Just go to the Q&As and stuff, and just talk to people, man. And you'll learn all this stuff, man. It's great. It's awesome.
You know, looking at your IMDb, it might just be something. Maybe I'm just looking into too much or whatever. But it seems like you do a lot of documentary work.
No, I've only done one.
Only one? I thought it was at least more than one. Okay, that's just me looking too far into it now. Okay, well, speaking of documentaries, I guess, how was your experience working on that documentary?
Man, that started out. It wasn't even planned. I shot it on my iPhones. I had two iPhones, an iPhone 6 and an iPhone 4. You know, and I was just following my buddies around. Del Castillo, you know, they're also Robert Rodriguez's band Chingon. Mm-hmm. But without Robert Rodriguez, they're Del Castillo. So I was just following them around. I'm recording them and stuff. I go to all the cities that they were playing at, and I made a joke like, "Hey, I'm gonna start shooting a documentary," you know. And then, sure enough, it started becoming. I said, "Wait a minute, I probably could do this," you know. I started that in 2015. I finished recording like in 2019.
Damn. 4 years of footage. Man, how much footage was that?
I had a lot, bro. I had a lot. Like, so then I'm like, hey, can you get, you know, Robert Rodriguez to do an interview? Yeah, we got that. What about Willie Nelson? Yeah, you know, we got that. Los Lonely Boys? Yeah, because, you know, they're all friends, you know. And it just came up into this, you know.
No, I used to see that you were like posting
yeah.
for a long time about the documentary and posting pictures with like Robert and like Isa Gonzalez.
Oh yeah, Isa. No, she's nice, man. She's a nice girl. She's awesome. The two dudes. What was the Dusk Till Dawn series?
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Man, those guys were, man. I was like, hey, you know, can I talk to you? They were all like stuck up and stuff.
Oh, they were stuck up.
Get out of here. And she came right along, and she was just talking to me and telling me all kinds of stuff, and just gave me like 45 minutes of her time. You know, I was like, wow, you know, pretty cool. But you know, it ain't gotta be like that, you know.
I tried to go down to Austin around the time they were shooting it. I went with some friends just for a weekend, and we pulled up to Troublemaker Studios. And like I imagined it being like in the middle of nowhere almost, because from most of his movies you don't really see anything around there.
Right.
And it's like just in the center of like all the shopping centers and the neighborhood.
It's an old airport.
Yeah. And that's where like Austin Studios are too, right next door to it.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And but we showed up and like everything was closed, so we couldn't get it. We couldn't get in. And I don't think we could even get in on a regular day. We went like a couple weeks ago too.
Oh wow!
And then
that was COVID, and Austin's like very closed down even still, I think.
Yeah.
So we went up to Austin Studios afterwards, and in Austin Studios we actually drove all the way in, and it was pretty empty. And there was just a guy with like sitting in the van. All the doors in the van were open. He's just like laying back, relaxing, and we're like, hey, is any of these places open? He's like, no. It's like, I'm just here to watch the trailers. And all the trailers were from like Dusk Till Dawn because they were like shooting it.
That's
nice.
That's cool. Yeah, that was a good experience. That I was filming part of that documentary during the South by Southwest, and that's where all the cast and from Dusk Till Dawn series. That's how I met Isa. She's a real nice girl. I knew she was gonna be a star when you talk to her. You can just tell about somebody that they shine. She was just so polite and just like a beautiful soul. And I was like, man, she's going to like be really big. Because she wasn't big at the time yet. She was doing a crossover from the Mexican.
From Mexican television?
Yeah, it was the soap operas.
But I thought she was in something else in South America too. Like she was like a Hannah Montana type character.
She might have been, but she was just crossing over into the English now, And I knew, man, like she's beautiful and stuff. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and now sure she's in some big stuff. Yeah.
She's in Baby Driver, Godzilla. I'm like, man, cool. I said, I know that girl.
That's awesome. Like, yeah, I knew you before we were famous. Cool. Hey, you still want to work together?
Like, who are you?
Do you have a favorite genre you like to work in, or do you just work with whatever comes to mind?
Yeah, I got a favorite. Drama is my thing. I'm not a horror movie. I'll watch horror movies, like The Conjuring. I'm like really into The Conjuring, but I won't ever shoot a horror movie. And but yeah, drama is like my thing. I like making people cry. I like telling real stories. That's and again, going to film festivals, you'll learn and you'll see like what wins and what doesn't. So you just gotta like pick your little diamonds out. And
do you pull from personal experiences when you write those, or
absolutely,
is it just, okay?
Absolutely. A lot of all of my films have a part of my life in it. It has to be, for me. It has to be, because it has. If I can't feel it, how do I expect the audience to feel it?
Gotcha.
Just like my first film, Haley's Angel. That story there is about a girl in a wheelchair that's being abused by her dad, and she meets up with a homeless man who happens to be an angel, and he ends up taking her. That inspiration came from a story about a little girl in Oklahoma. Her name was Kelsey Briggs, and I saw it on YouTube, where the mother's boyfriend was beating her up, broke her legs, and he finally kicked her so hard in the stomach that just all her internal organs just exploded. So that's when I said, man, I'm going to do this film, That's what got me to do that. So, yeah, it's always like something that's either happened in my life or something that I saw in real life, It's just more real to me, I shot, I wouldn't say it was a horror movie, but it had some horror in it, had a demon in it, but it was more of a psychological. I'll do stuff like that, but horror, comedy. I wrote a comedy. I'm just afraid to shoot it.
You need actors with good timing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I always remember hearing a story about 4-Year-Old Virgin. You put the script out there, you take a look at it. It's just not funny. It's just the actors, the way they deliver it. That's what made the movie. Yeah. My comedy was about it's like a cheater spoof. And the opening scene is they're like, hey, we found how they do it. We found this person over here, and your husband's in there. And the chick's like dressed in a clown suit, So they go and they pull the van door open, and
there's another chick in a clown suit sitting down, and her husband's like doing a headstand between her legs, and he's just, and then she's like, "Oh, I knew it. I knew you were somebody." And he's like, "I'm not doing nothing." It's just stupid stuff like that.
That sounds like one of those YouTube parody skits that we used to do. Me and my one of my friends, David, he used to have a YouTube channel where he used to do that stuff all the time, and I was in some of those, and oh my God, they're. You were in one of those too. I remember you. No, you were in the catfish one, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah, that was terrible. I played a bearded lady in that one. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. It will scar you visually. But yeah, those were fun. Doing some of those was pretty fun.
Bearded lady.
Yeah.
You're like, the link will not be on the description.
George, that's up to you, but I would rather not. I'd rather not scar our viewers any more than they are. I mean, they're just looking at me. They don't need to see any more of me.
That's funny. Bearded lady.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, it was basically like he would parody movies and other things like that, or big events, stuff like that. And I mean, some of them got views, some of them didn't. Even our camera guy today, Carlos Gomez, he's one of our camera guys, got a 20,000 subscriber channel, bro. That's growing. That's badass. Wow. Blue Carlos. Cool. But he not that you post anymore, fucking post more, motherfucker. But yeah, he was also in one of my favorite ones. I was in with him as well. It was a parody on Chris Hansen and doing basically To Catch a Predator and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And just. It's hilarious. Like your part was perfect. He played like the Spanish version of him, and it was just so funny, so great. I'm in it, so don't watch it. Otherwise, yeah. But yeah, that kind of stuff is really interesting to write. It is pulling from stuff that already exists, so it kind of gives you a base for something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it gives you something to work on, so it makes it a little bit easier. But it takes a right mind to make it more interesting than like the epic movie or whatever those disaster movie, whatever those parody movies were,
right?
Because those were awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they started off good, but they just kind of went downhill. Fast.
Yeah, they usually do.
Yeah.
It's the people behind it. It's like they weren't the same people behind like that started the spoof movies.
Yeah,
because those were like I forgot their names. But it was two brothers that eventually started doing all those epic movies and stuff. But before then, it was the guys who were writing with Leslie Nielsen.
So yeah.
The movies he was in, those were like two different brothers or two different people.
Yeah. Two different brothers. Well,
different brothers.
Yeah, because they are brothers. The ones doing the epic movies. But the guys before him, it was he was one writer, and I think his son eventually also started writing some movies too. So that's where you get like Airplane, The Naked Gun.
Oh yeah, I remember those, man.
I still really like those. Some of those are really good. I don't know if you've ever seen like the Naked Gun series, like the TV.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's only like 6 episodes.
What?
It never got picked up, but once it hit like VHS, it like took off and at like Blockbusters and stuff. So they decided to like, let's make it into a movie. So that's where the Naked Gun comes from.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the actual show is called Police Squad.
Oh yeah,
I remember Police Squad. Yeah,
I heard about that. Yeah.
I'm still a big fan of those spoof movies though. I go back and watch the older ones.
Oh yeah, like scary movies, stuff like that. Those things still hold up. Well, kind of, sort of.
Do you have a director that you admire, like, or one that's your favorite and the type of genre you work in?
Yeah, man, Alejandro Gonzalez, man, that's the guy I want to be like. He's like amazing. I think he sneezes and he'll win an Oscar. He just want, and what I love about him is he's not one of those that makes a film, 2 or 3 films a year. He makes one every 4 years or something. Yeah. Comes in and sweeps the Oscars and then goes back into hiding. And make another film. I just love that, man. I mean, he's a true artist to me, and that's one thing that I've been trying to change my style into more like that. I try to keep the technical stuff of Robert Rodriguez, but I want to do the storytelling of Alejandro Gonzalez. But yeah, that's my most favorite director.
I like his whole. I think his whole crew's all good because it's always like Alfonso Cuarón and Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, and Chivo.
Chivo, yeah.
Man.
But they were like back-to-back Oscars from all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And like, man, that cinematographer they use, man, he's like amazing. There's nothing like him, man. You know, I like what's that guy? Keen. I forgot. He works with those guys that made from No Country for Old Men.
Oh, the Coen Brothers, yeah.
Yeah, that cinematographer is good too. I can't think of his name right now, but
Yeah, I know who you're talking about because he did Skyfall also.
yeah, Bel Chivo, man, that guy is amazing. Wow. You know, I still can't mimic his stuff. I try and I'll get all the similar equipment that I can, and you know, it's like, how do you do this, man?
I can't say personally if I have like a favorite director or not, because I do like a wide range of movies.
Yeah.
And you know, different genres. I mean, a lot of action stuff I like, but also, you know, I do like my dramas, some horror stuff like that. So I can't really pinpoint like a favorite director. I'm more of a casual movie watcher than anything. I don't really analyze it as much as I should as a filmmaker, but you know, I feel like I watch it more for fun, and I feel like I make movies more for fun than it is for like, you know, like a style or specific thing. I feel like I make them more for me than I do for other people.
You don't have a director that you like, that you enjoy watching his movies like for fun, that you feel are fun?
Now the thing is, like, do I pay attention to directors' names when I watch movies?
No.
I'm like, oh, that was a cool movie, you know, whatever. Who's that guy that did what's that, the recent movie with Statham?
Jesus, Statham.
Yeah. What was that movie? The one we just watched recently.
Is it
I don't know the director
Antoine
on that one.
Fuqua? Was that him?
No.
It was.
He did one with not Matt Damon. The guy.
I gotta look this up real quick.
Mark Wahlberg. They did Infinity. Antoine Fuqua and him did Infinite.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie.
His stuff is
Oh,
really
that was
good.
Guy Ritchie.
Yeah. I do enjoy quite a few of his movies, just because, you know, his action movies are really good. And yeah. So I enjoy what he does. Obviously,
I forgot that was even the Guy Ritchie movies, because it doesn't feel like a Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen a lot of like indie filmmakers just going to the film festival and stuff. They'll one year they'll have a drama, and then the next time they'll have this action, and then the next year they'll have a comedy and then a musical. I'm like, you know, they really haven't found themselves, and I just see it's just like a boring, you know, dude, you need to like hone in on what you're trying to do. And you know, this is like I was saying earlier about Gonzalez. He makes one movie, you know, every 3 or 4 years. I adjusted. I used to go to movies a lot. Now I only watch them maybe once or twice a year. You know, I try to cut back. You know, just little things like that. You know, but I'm not really good at jumping around. I tried it. Mm-hmm. You know, I tried it because I shot a thriller, and I guess maybe, I don't know if you want to call it a thriller drama. I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. I can't really.
And what's this one called you're talking about?
I haven't released it. It was my second
okay.
film.
Okay.
That was like back in 2011.
Gotcha.
I haven't released it. It's called Soul of Ember. And, you know, it's about this girl. She loses her husband in the line of duty. And on the way home, she finds this wreckage of this mother and her baby got ran over, you know, and then the mother comes out of the, you know, the shadows saying, please help me put my baby back together. And it's all bloody baby. Ooh. You know, that's one of the reasons why I haven't released it.
Yeah.
You know, just like, oh, you know.
Yeah, I feel, you know, I mean, stuff like that with especially with stuff that's been in the works a lot. As times change, things become more or less politically correct, you know, as time goes on. And so
yeah,
I feel like there are movies like that, a lot of movies that are shelved like that for a while that will not be released because of, you know, things like that. Right. But just think about it, like what was acceptable 5-10 years ago is just not.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's
and
so
to me,
it
wasn't acceptable to me, you know, mm-hmm. Like, yeah, it looks good and it's really cool, but nah, I don't think I want to release this, you know. Yeah. But it was a good learning experience.
I gotcha.
But, you know, like I said, I tried to jump around and I just couldn't do it. I was like, no, I really like drama. It's really in my heart. You know, I take it from life, you know, life experiences. And that's just the way I'll leave it, you know, because if you're good at it, you know, if it's not, what they say, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
I don't see like a lot of directors that jump genres. Sometimes they'll work within their own style and they kind of diverge to a genre a little bit, but it's always like they have a clear style, so you always know it's their film. And like one of those would be like George Miller, Mad Max. He went off, did Mad Max, then does a Happy Feet, and then like Babe. And then he comes back and does like another Mad Max movie. And same thing with the director for Back to the Future.
Yeah. So people can do it, man. For me, I can't do it.
Well,
Zemeckis, Robert Zemeckis, that's his name. But Robert Zemeckis has like a great filmography too.
Yeah,
it's all like real crazy. Good. Some dramas and then comedies in there.
I'm ready to see his Ghostbusters, man.
Who's the guy that did Die Hard? I love Die Hard, so like I guess that guy's gonna be one of my favorite directors because Die Hard's amazing.
Gruber.
And it is. Well, I don't care what anybody says. That first Die Hard is absolutely a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas
no matter
movie.
What. Thank you.
Yeah, it's Christmas. It comes out on Christmas.
Yeah. It's like Bruce Willis says it's not.
Yeah, but he didn't write it. Who was it? Bill Haas said he didn't write it.
Yeah.
So we are running a little bit low on our camera batteries, unfortunately, so we're going to have to wrap up this podcast pretty soon-ish. But before we go, there's one question that we do love to ask our guests, and that is just to relate to us what one of your favorite experiences working on film was. Just something that really sticks out to you, something you would really think is your favorite experience of ever working on set.
Yeah, to me, my favorite experience would be learning the process, learning everything. But it's really, really the end result of seeing the audience, happy with what you put out. Because in the end, that's what it is. A lot of filmmakers make films to put in Walmart and say, hey, my film's in Walmart, but you're broke. You're broke. You ain't got no money. They'll make them films to impress their friends and stuff. No, it's about the audience. And to learn the process and put that to work, to put all that hard work in and see the end result, and see these audience members come up to you, oh, man, I love your film. It made me cry. It made me think about my daughter that passed away. That's worth more than any award or anything that you could ever accomplish. So it's a good feeling.
Yeah, just seeing how you can move people.
Yeah, that's what it's about, man. You can. I think you can do world peace with music and films.
Absolutely.
But why we haven't done it? Because I don't know. It's just weird. You can move people.
All right. Since we're kind of short on time, is there anywhere people could find you online?
Just my Zen Studios.
Zen Studios.
And just my name, Israel Marquez. You always see me wearing a hat or, the guitar or something.
If somebody wanted to reach out to you, I guess that would be through the website. Is that correct?
No, they can just hit me up on Facebook,
Okay, gotcha. So
I'm not hard to get a hold of.
So we're going to link to your Facebook and the website if that's cool with you.
Sure, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Israel, it's been a wonderful, absolute pleasure talking to you, man. You're one of the most artistic people we've had on.
Oh, I appreciate
most
it.
people are technical, which is, it's fun to talk to technical people, but, having somebody from that point of view, especially because it's complete opposite to me, I'm a very technical person.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from our conversation. George, thank you so much for co-hosting. Carlos, you're the MVP on camera. Thanks, buddy. You're the best. This is why we need a camera on the anchor pointing that way, George, so we can just see him sweating bullets out there. And oh my God, it's still hot in here. We have AC, but it's hot. Anyways, like I said, Israel, thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having me.
George, thanks for hosting. Milos, thank you for drinking on camera. I'm an idiot. I shouldn't do that. Whatever. Guys, this has been the One Up Podcast episode, 15, 16? God, we've had a lot now.
16 now.
16. Oh, wow. 16 episodes. That's good. We're going to keep going strong, guys. And you will see us or hear us next time. Bye-bye.